Hey guys, I'm a Canadian. My name's Greg. This is a new series called Trash Takes, where I go over 5 trash takes in 5 minutes. Let's jump right into it. Here's a clip from Chris Barber.
Hearing that Trudeau wants our guns. So does he want them bullets first or that way? Come and get them.
He's a gun owner, and he doesn't want the federal government messing with that. This policy has nothing to do with illegal guns. It's just lawful gun owners. And then what do we have? We have Dean Blundell coming in here saying, that time Convoy lead organizer cocked his gun and told Justin Trudeau to come get it. There's nothing illegal about that. Sure, is it sort of a little bit intimidating? Of course it is. But then also Chris Barber, I swear I was there to be peaceful. I think they forgot about these when they're under oath conveniently. Just because you own a gun does not mean you are a violent person. How dumb are you, Dean Blundell? It's funny when people who clearly don't own guns chime in with their opinion on guns, but this is such a trash take from Dean here, implying I must be a violent person. That's what that means. Just because I cock my gun while disagreeing with a policy, I must be a violent person. Just because you own a gun, you must be a violent person. It's very, very silly, and it's naive. It's part of that naive worldview that someone like Dean has, where it's like, oh, you own a gun? You must be a violent insurrectionist. That's the only explanation. It really seems childish. Owning a gun means you're a violent insurrectionist, and other takes from 5-year-old children. Very simplistic. Can we talk about how the mandates were justified and that's why people were there for the protest? Can we talk about how ridiculous this gun ban is, considering it doesn't even target illegal guns? No, of course we can't do that because we're 5-year-olds and our name is Dean Blundell. Next, we have ArriveCan. Let's hear this clip from Mr. Pierre Poilievre.
$54 million for the Arrive scam app, an app we didn't need, that didn't work, that sent 10,000 people wrongly into quarantine, and that could have been designed for $250,000 in a weekend, but took $54 million instead. Some of the companies the Prime Minister said got the money said they never received it. It's time for the truth. Will the Prime Minister support our motion to call in the auditors?
Call in the auditors. A lot of people don't see this in the Conservative Party and with Pierre Poilievre, but he is totally missing the mark here. Call the auditors. How about call out the people that justified using this app to begin with? What about the invasion of our privacy, Pierre Poilievre? What about the tracking of our own citizens? Hey, did you get there yet? Are you at your quarantine hotel yet? Hey, give us all of your personal information along with your passport. This is a total overreach of the government in terms of our freedoms and our privacy. That's what I want my guy in the parliament talking about. The total invasion of our privacy, the tracking of citizens like we're cattle, and saying that this should never happen again. I don't care the price tag. I don't care the price tag. Call the auditors. No. Let's make sure this never happens again. Because guess what? ArriveCan is so unique to the Western world. No other country was doing this because it's completely insane and absurd. I don't care about the cost. I don't care about the price tag, Pierre Poilievre. That's exactly what I said. ArriveCan tracked Canadians like cattle. It was a disgusting overreach of power and an alarming invasion of our privacy. Meanwhile, the leader of the Conservative Party is focusing our moral outrage on checks notes, how much it cost. Direct the moral outrage on this invasion of our privacy and treating Canadians like cattle or prisoners. In some cases where it's like, fill out all this information, go to the quarantine hotel. We're going to check in on you with like police officers and things like this. Are you kidding me? There is so much more to be upset about than the price tag here. Next, we're going to talk about David Akin. So he tweets, Convoy lawyer Wilson's testimony pointing so far to 3 potential reasons to invoke the Emergencies Act. Let's see what these reasons to call the War Measures Act are. Okay, David, what do you got here? Law enforcement leaking info. So I would actually agree this is the closest thing to maybe, yeah, that is an emergency. But what does that emergency imply, really? That emergency implies that the law enforcement is sympathetic to the protest. The law enforcement is more sympathetic to the people protesting against the government than they are sympathetic to the government. In some cases anyway, because it's not like every single law enforcement person is leaking information, but at least some of them are really having sympathy for the protest. So that's kind of an emergency, but not the one that you think. Next point he has is many groups at the protest. No single point of contact or control. Oh, so it was a big protest, basically. Yeah, there was a lot of people joining in on this protest. Again, I can see how it might be an emergency for some people, but this is just proving how many people supported this cause of wanting to end mandates and restrictions. Moving on to the third one, even Freedom Corp types Wilson/Barber could not convince Rito/Sussex Group to move. So the people were very persistent at the protest. They really wanted, they wanted to stay there. They wanted to make some noise. They wanted to stay put because they wanted to end mandates. So they were persistent. And once again, this all just skirts the fact of why the heck they were there, to end mandates. Can you please talk to us about ending mandates? No. They're clearly grasping at straws here to try and justify this Emergencies Act. And just look at this blooper. Look at this clip from the testimony with Chris Deering and Maggie Hope Braun. Listen to this.
You were on the road when you were arrested.
I was on the road?
Yes.
That's hard to say. It was a lot of snow, so I don't know where I was on the grass, on the road. I'm not sure.
Right. And so were you, Ms. Hope Brown, weren't you?
Everyone was on the road.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you understand you're obstructing a roadway, correct?
You understand you're obstructing a roadway, correct? You're obstructing a road. Is this guy serious? You hear that laughter? We got a laugh track in this Emergencies Act hearing, and there should be. Because what an absolute joke. You realize you're obstructing the roadway, right? Yeah, there were trucks all along Wellington for weeks at that point. For 3 weeks at that point.
And so you understand you're obstructing a roadway, correct?
This is so funny. And once again, what are you saying? That's the emergency? Because these people are walking. At this point, it was just bodies who are confronting police in this scenario, what they're referring to. It's just so funny, man. It's so funny. I highly recommend you actually check out this video. It's a good clip. It's from War Campaign. And it's a good highlight of this testimony from Chris Deering and Maggie Hope Braun. And thanks to you two for standing up for being on the right side of history, essentially. And then this final trash take comes from Tom Parkin. Tamara Lick and Jeremy McKenzie, no doubt, will be condemning Ford's tyrannical and dictatorial attack on our freedoms very soon. You'll see a lot of takes like this online where they're comparing this wage dispute to losing your job over a medical procedure. Like, I can't believe that people are actually making this comparison. It's laughable. It's completely laughable. And here's the thing. These are the same type of people who will scoff at freedom fighters opposing mandates by saying, oh, well, what about Iran? What about these other human injustices happening in some other country? That's a real fight for freedom. These are the same people who are saying, I can't believe they're not standing up for this strike because we want higher wages. It's absolutely clown world out there. And now in the same breath, they exalt a union strike wage dispute as if it's more valid protest than why thousands of Canadians are now jobless. And this sentiment is really crazy. It really is soaked in this weird sort of privilege where it's like, hey, I lost my job. And it's like, well, I don't care about that. I want more money. Shut the fuck up. This protest is way more important. Really, man? Holy crap. But as a bonus, I'll bring up one last Tom Parkin tweet. Almost 2 in 3 say Ford PCs are to blame for the school staff strike. Nearly half say other unions would be right to join the strike. Here's how this ends. Withdraw the bill, bargain a fair deal. I don't necessarily disagree with that tweet. I actually haven't done much research into this strike going on yet, so I'm going to make more content on that soon. But this was my kind of like echoing of what he said. 40 plus kilometer long convoy of vehicles descends upon Ottawa to protest. Over half the country supports the goals of the convoy, ending mandates and restrictions, and they did at the time. There's at least one poll that came out that said over 50% of people support that. Here's how it ended. Emergency declared, protesters beaten, lied about in the news, and arrested. Government refuses to address any wrongdoing whatsoever. And this is what's so frustrating. The government has refused to address any of these wrongdoings. Not just the beating the protesters, arresting them, lying about them in the news, smearing this entire convoy movement, but also addressing these unjustified mandates. addressing so many different things to do with the restrictions over the past 2.5 years, the spending and all that, but more importantly, the mandates and how thousands of Canadians lost their jobs, lives ruined, and they don't want to talk about it. They're not going to address it. And I mean, I have sympathy for these teachers who are protesting here, but I gotta say, it really is something that we will remember. The fact that you didn't have sympathy for us. You didn't have sympathy for the convoy, some of you. And some of you hated us, actually. Quite aggressively hated us and think that we're evil people. And now you're expecting us to have all this support for you. And I certainly do have sympathy for what's going on here, but once again, you're crying about a wage increase. These were people crying about their livelihoods being taken away. It is not even a close comparison, in my opinion, and shame on you for not recognizing or having sympathy for the trucker convoy and the plight, really, that many Canadians were facing because of not wanting to take this medical procedure, because it was completely unjustified. And as more science comes out, looks like we were right. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching Trash Takes. Hope you're enjoying this new series. I did start a Patreon. You can become a member here on YouTube and Facebook, so check that out as well. Love you, and we'll talk